From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
I'm Casey Conlon. Remember when we were on this boat at Yellowtail last month with MCKEEVER DAHLBERG, the 19-year-old walleye wonderkind? Well, we catch up with him again with a shiny new title. Coming up.
I'm Mitch LAGGE. Coming up, I'll introduce you to one-year-old Imogen and tell how the Billings community is coming together to support this girl battling an unknown disease.
Plus, as we learn more about Sunday's plane crash and the family involved, we look back into the Q2 archives to bring you a glimpse into the lives of this family whose love for taking flight was front and center in everything they did. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Tuesday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Those stories in just a moment. But first, Musselshell County and state authorities say they've identified a group of juveniles as persons of interest in the human-caused fire that tore through Roundup over the weekend. The sheriff's office says the investigation into the horse thief fire is ongoing and no other information will be released at this time. Now, that blaze that burned one home and forced the evacuation of several others is now 80% contained. Musselshell County Sheriff Sean Lesnick says 7 engines are still on scene at this hour, and the flames have torched nearly 300 acres since sparking on Saturday. Q2's Brendan Warren headed out to the fire lines again today as one family looks to rebuild after the devastating blaze.
A wildfire broke out near Roundup and destroyed one structure, but for one man, that structure was his home.
Brad Voice has lived on his land outside of Roundup for 27 years and has spent decades building his life here. He had 3 houses and a shed on the property, but it was all destroyed in just seconds by the fast-moving horse thief fire.
Families grew up here, but other than losing all the material stuff, it's the family stuff, the pictures, the wife's ashes, the dad's ashes.
Brad and his family are now forced to start over and rebuild. They invite the community to come help clean up anytime. In the long run, they're raising money to try and build another home on the property. Brad tried his best to protect the house, but the flames were too strong.
Well, I was already over by the fence with my water hose. So by the time we got here, that trailer was on fire. Took one outfit 2 blocks up the road, came back to get my Bronco. Those trees were on fire next to my house my trailer I lived in.
Brad, his son, and his dog escaped the fire, but they didn't have time to gather anything else. Brad wishes this had never happened, but says future incidents can be prevented.
Watch what you're doing out in the dry, super dry, BLM, Forest Service, even on your own property. Just be careful, because it's not just your lives, you're putting all the other people in danger.
Crews are continuing to monitor the hotspots of the fire. In Roundup, Brandon Warren, MTN News.
We're learning more tonight about a deadly plane crash that took 2 prominent lives in the Billings flying community. Now, the crash killed Rob and Pam Stevens, owners of Billings-based Mission Aviation. Their son Riley was badly burned in that crash. A flight plan for the plane shows the Stevens family departing last Thursday and spending the weekend bouncing between Houston and College Station, Texas, before returning to Montana through Wyoming on Sunday. Now, the plane was last seen near Torrington, Wyoming on Sunday before crashing south of Billings near the landfill just after 7 p.m. Well, tonight we look back into the Q2 archives to get a better understanding of the passion the Stevens family has for flying. As ANDREA LUTZ reports, starting a flight school gave the family the ultimate freedom.
For Rob Stevens, getting others interested in flying was a way to pass along what he knows about it.
There's just not a lot of young guys in the pipeline. And that was one of the things Steele reminded me is, you know, Dad, lots of people helped you in this industry. Let's do something where we can help some other people get into it and pass along what you know, what I know.
This footage was taken back in 2018 when Rob and his son Steele welcomed our cameras into their lives for a story about their newly formed Laurel Flight School. It was a passion for flying handed down from Rob that motivated his son Steele to also get interested. And flying became a family affair for the Stevens. Rob and Pam were traveling with Riley, their other son, also a flight instructor, spending a weekend hopping around Texas before coming back to Montana Sunday night. Yellowstone County Sheriff Mike Linder confirmed both Rob and Pam were killed in the crash. Riley badly burned with over 70% of his body burned, and he's now recovering at a burn hospital in Salt Lake City. Rob spent a lifetime dedicated to flying, working as a major commercial airline pilot for some 30 years, then teaching others, including his sons. His legacy will surely live on.
Everybody in the industry, if you ask them, how'd you get into flying? They have a story about the old guy who helped them. And so I guess now I'm the old guy.
Back then, son Steele also talking about how good it feels to learn and to teach others.
You got to explain different things to different people different ways, and when it clicks, it's really rewarding.
In Billings, ANDREA LUTZ, MTN News.
As happens so often in the fall, we've got a real dividing line across the state today. Warm and dry conditions across the eastern plains. In fact, temperatures as warm as the mid-90s in eastern Montana towards the Dakotas. But western Montana, we've already seen this trough of low pressure move in and has caused a lot of rain showers, even some higher elevation snow. Take a look across the region. Some of the photos we were taking a look at. Polson, south of a portion of Flathead Lake, showing some of the wind and the rain showers there. Near Kalispell, rain showers with the headlights on. 9 Mile on I-90 just outside of Missoula with some wet roadways, and also showers and some choppy waters around Georgetown Lake. That's going to start to catch up with us in the next 24 hours. Details coming up.
Hello everybody, I'm Casey Conlon. The setting isn't quite as good as the last time I was on this boat with MCKEEVER DAHLBERG. You'll remember our meeting last month down at Yellowtail, where we made 2 new bear friends, and MCKEEVER was showing me why he, at just 19, is one of the best young fishermen in the world. He was headed to the championship tournament of the National Walleye Tour. He's back now with some new hardware.
Angler of the Year, and I know he didn't know he was going to win, or he would have stayed.
We were watching it, and he was like, well, it's too close to count Angler of the Year yet, so we'll have to add up the points and stuff. And I was like, of course, after I leave.
It's the best math mistake DAHLBERG has ever made. He came into the finals number 3 in the Co-Angler of the Year race, but rose to number 1 overall after a strong first day.
We took off at 8, and by 8:30 we had 6 fish, our limit in the boat.
Day 2 was the exact opposite.
We only caught 5 fish.
The whole day?
Yeah. We caught 1 in the morning, and then the last 20 minutes before we had to go in, we caught 4 of them.
In the end, he was 3/4 of a pound short from advancing to the final day. Still in first overall, DAHLBERG figured someone would catch him, and so he started driving back home to Billings. He stopped on the way to get a new floor installed on his boat and figured he'd tune into the awards presentation to see who ended up winning.
MCKEEVER won Angler of the Year, and the only way he knows it, he's watching us right now. I guarantee you he's watching it.
You're sitting in Mandan, North Dakota. What just happened?
I miscalculated Angler of the Year.
So I won this trophy, and then I won my entry fees paid for next year.
Remember when we talked to DAHLBERG's dad, Ty, last month? He told us his reaction to MCKEEVER saying he was going to join the tour at just 18.
And I said, oh, how about we do a couple? You know, let's sign up for a couple. And he's like, nope, I'm not doing a couple. I'm doing all of them or none of them because I'm going to the championship, and you can't qualify for the championship unless you do all of them.
Yeah, I think I stunned everyone.
But not yourself?
No.
No longer an amateur by any definition of the word, MCKEEVER will take aim at the pro title next year. His goal? What else?
My goal is to make it to the championship next year.
I have no doubt.
On the pro side, so.
I imagine if you do, your goal is to win the championship after that.
Yeah.
You can bet he won't miscalculate that goal. Casey Conlon, MTN News.
1-year-old Imogen Hutchinson was born into this world with an unknown disease that doctors are still trying to identify. Over the past few weeks, the Billings community has rallied together behind her parents, Travis and Hannah, to provide support.
Pretty little girls aren't supposed to be, living in the hospital. It's not fair. They can't figure out a diagnosis for her, which is probably the most frustrating part. Obviously, you want her healthy, but even just having any answers, having any kind of idea of what is actually going on, it would be helpful, and they can't figure anything out.
Travis and Hannah Hutchinson grew up in Billings, marrying in 2016. The couple moved to Bozeman a few years back, and their daughter Imogen was born in March 2020. It was around December last year that the family knew something was wrong.
She wasn't feeling well, and they were a little concerned, so they took her in, and they're like, well, we don't really know what's going on, so I guess just keep an eye on her and come back if things persist. And sure enough, they got admitted to the hospital in January, and they've just kind of been in the hospital since then.
About a week after her first birthday, Imogen was flown to Seattle Children's Hospital. Her parents' blog says she is experiencing a scleroderma-like condition that causes the tightening of skin and connective tissue. Imogen's uncle, Justin Hutchinson, has been rallying support for the family in Billings, creating a website for the family to give updates and to host various links to online donation platforms. He got to see his niece a few weeks ago.
She just loves everything that a normal, little girl loves. She loves stickers. She loves music. We did the dinosaur dance together, which is a book that she loves, and had to do all the actions. Had to flap my wings like a dinosaur. Had to stomp my feet like a dinosaur. So she's just a normal, little girl who just happens to be sick and living in the hospital.
The family has raised thousands of dollars so far. To continue to raise money to help pay for the family's medical and travel expenses, Hutchinson has scheduled a pub crawl and walkathon to benefit his niece. From 4 to 8 p.m. this Saturday, the crawl will start at Montana Brewing Company and pass through a total of 5 bars with auctions, raffles, and a portion of beer sales going back to the family. To keep up with Imogen's story, you can visit the family's website at imogenrue.com. Reporting in Billings, Mitch Lagge, MTN News.
Coming up on tonight's MTN 530 News here on Q2, there's a lot of questions swirling around the COVID virus and its variants. Q2 is getting the answers next.
The MTN 530 News continues right after this.